respected schools and become some of the best coaches in the country. Watch out for Jimmy Rogers. That's a name you want to keep in the back of your mind. So after the craziness yet again for this season, for this past week, who's the top 12? Now, I saw the college football rankings. I saw the coaches poll, the AP poll. I have a different take on who the top 12 teams are, and we will end the show with my top 12 college football playoff teams going forward. Number one. Okay, so let me explain this. I went to law school in Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio is a really nice place. The short north is very nice. They have some really nice restaurants. The Ohio State-Michigan game every year is just really amazing. Columbus. Yeah, great city, great football team. Ohio State, number one in the country at this point. I emphasize at this point. Why? Their roster is loaded. Now, have they played like a team at all times? No. Have they played for each other at all times? No. The Michigan fan, false Columbus is well, fair enough. We all have different opinions. The Michigan fan does not like Columbus. I'll just leave it at that. But Ohio State does have a loaded roster, and if they come together, Will Howard has played very well. They do have an excellent defense. Every team is playing inconsistent this year. But when I saw them play at Oregon, I thought they were the better team. I thought they lost by 1 second. If Will Howard slides just a second earlier, I think they win that game. And I think when you consider the imperfections of every team, the inconsistencies, the incongruities, at this time, I give a slight edge to Ohio State as the number one team in the nation. Number two, one of the reasons I've never been a huge fan of traveling to Texas is because of how hot it is. Maybe I should not always travel there in the summer, but it is sure hot. It's very hot in Austin, too. But Austin is also the home to the University of Texas and a team that, after a very troubling loss to Georgia at home, is looking good. Again, a loaded roster. Okay, a great wide receiving core and a quarterback in Quinn Ewers who's looking very polished, and a defense that's legit this year. Texas is in the running for the national championship at number 2. Now, number 3, and I'm doing this just as a courtesy. I never liked Eugene, Oregon. Never liked Autzen Stadium. Too loud. The fans are too close to the field. Very annoying. And because I won't go any further on that. Oregon, as a courtesy, I'm putting you at number 3. But if you want my honest opinion, I think Oregon's finished. I do not think Oregon has a legitimate chance at the national championship, and I'll tell you why. They won by 3 points, 37-34 against Boise State. They just struggled, okay? Just struggled against Maryland. And they also struggled against Ohio State, and they have a pretty favorable schedule with most of their tough games, if not all of them, at home. Now, we'll see how good they are against Wisconsin this week, but I'm not sold on Oregon. But Oregon, Dylan Gabriel has played well. They have a great wide receiving core, and they do have a defense this year. So even though I don't think they're going to contend for the national title, they do deserve the number 3 ranking. Number 4, and most people are going to disagree with this, but when I saw Jalen Milroe run over LSU the way he did, and I saw that defense, which looked so incredibly improved from its performances against Tennessee, from its second-half performance against Georgia. Kane Wommack is doing a great job with that defense, and when Milroe is on, and defenses know he can run or throw it, and they have to defend Ryan Williams and Bernard. If they're clicking on all cylinders like they were against the first half, like they were against Georgia in the first half, they can compete with anybody, and they're number 4. Number 5, a few years ago, I went to the Grove in Oxford, Mississippi. What a beautiful place. I'll leave it at that. Ole Miss dominated Georgia in the trenches. And it was shocking to see. Absolutely dominated the Bulldogs in the trenches. They had no answer. And Carson Beck, once again, decides that he likes to turn the ball over, or he prefers to throw it to the other team. Beck has been committing way too many turnovers, throwing the ball into way too many tight windows, forcing it so many times. He is not the quarterback that I thought he would be, and that will be the downfall of Georgia. But Ole Miss, with that win, particularly in the dominating fashion that they had that win, they're number 5. Lane Kiffin, great job. Number 6. The reason I don't like the University of Tennessee's campus is because there are too many steps. You always are walking up, and it's tiring. But it is a very pretty campus. Tennessee comes in at number 6. I'm not convinced that Tennessee can win with their quarterback. He's a freshman. He's inexperienced. But they have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. And at this point, I'm going to put Tennessee at number 6. Number 7. Yes, number 7. This was a tough choice, a reluctant choice. I was never a big fan of whiteout in Happy Valley. But the Penn State Nittany Lions do have a defense. All right. They couldn't pull out the win against Ohio State because they have the same old Penn State offense. Can't score much, but they have a great defense. That's not going to win you national championships because defense will ultimately be on the field too long and get tired. But they are still legit. They went to USC, came back from a 21-10 halftime deficit to win 33-30 in overtime. Penn State still has a lot of talent. They're at number 7. Number 8, a team that most people wrote off at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year. A team that I predicted would contend for the national title, and everyone once again said I was crazy. I suspect some people might agree with that. Some people might disagree. You know, it really, really is unfortunate when you lose to a team like Northern Illinois. And it's even worse when you lose at home. It's hard to have any confidence in that team, but I still do. Notre Dame comes in at number 8. Maybe it's the touchdown Jesus that's influencing me or memories of Lou Holtz. But Notre Dame has come back and played very solid since that ridiculous loss. And I got to tell you, they did crush Florida State, although I'm not sure how good that is since Florida State I don't know what happened to Florida State. I have no explanation for that. But Notre Dame is still worthy of consideration. It comes in at number 8. Number 9, Bloomington, Indiana is a beautiful place. If you've ever been to the University of Indiana's campus, it's gorgeous. Very, very nice, especially in the fall. And in the summer if you like cornfields. Indiana comes in at number 9. Nobody expected Indiana to be undefeated at this point in the season. How good is Indiana? Indiana is very good. Is Indiana great? I'm not so sure. They remind me a bit of Cincinnati from 2021. Maybe they're a bit better, but they've got one hell of a coach. A coach that from James Madison, at James Madison, he won all the time. Here he's winning all the time. Cignetti, he's probably the coach of the year. Indiana has talent too. And the most important thing is that Indiana is disciplined. They don't screw up. They don't have unnecessary penalties or turnovers. They're polished, disciplined, and they've got some really good talent on that team. Indiana's going to make the playoff, and they could be dangerous. Number 10, this was a hard one. I live about an hour and a half from Athens, Georgia. Never been. Here it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful college town. Actually once voted one of the best college towns in the United States. That's really nice. Not a happy college town these days. After that loss to Alabama, in which they fell behind 30-2 at the half, only to take a 34-33 lead in the second half, below the lead, and then, of course, a Carson Beck interception as they were driving with less than a minute left, only to be followed by this loss to Ole Miss. The difference between the Alabama loss and the Ole Miss loss was this: Ole Miss dominated them in the trenches. And when a team dominates you in the trenches like I've never seen Georgia been dominated before, it tells me, yes, Ole Miss is very good, but it also tells me that Georgia is not what it used to be. But Georgia still comes in at number 10 for now. Number 11, and I predicted this upset because, even though Georgia Tech is an engineering school, they've still got some talent in football and in baseball too. Georgia Tech upsets Miami at Georgia Tech. Cam Ward with the inexcusable turnover at the end of the game. I'm sorry. Cam Ward, Heisman Trophy candidate, but didn't play very well. And one thing I've noticed about him is that he makes some amazingly spectacular plays, but he also makes some really bad ones. And the other thing is this: Miami does not have a defense. No defense whatsoever. So I don't consider them contenders for the national championship, but with one loss and a few impressive victories, number 11. Number 12. I've never been to Utah. I hear Utah is a beautiful state. I've been to Montana, which is very, very, very beautiful. West Coast, well, the West, very nice. Going back to Wyoming at some point in the future, I hope. But Utah's the home to the Brigham Young. Brigham Young, I don't want to say 1984 BYU. That's an inside joke. But Brigham Young, the BYU Cougars, they're a legit team this year, and just defeated Utah. Now, do I think BYU is going to contend for the national championship? No. Could maybe Boise State be in there? Yes. But in the era of a 12-team playoff, we have to pick somebody, and I'm going with BYU at this point. But who do I really think is going to contend for the national championship? The ones that can legitimately contend for the national title, it's 5 teams. Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, Alabama, Ole Miss. It's going to be a thrilling college football playoff, and it's going to be a thrilling end to the season. Let's see what happens when Alabama goes at Oklahoma. Let's see what happens when Alabama plays Mercer. I'm just kidding. Let's see how the season plays out. We may have a lot more surprises in store for us, and if so, these rankings could change. But for now, Ohio State 1, Texas 2, Oregon 3, Alabama 4, Ole Miss 5, Tennessee 6, Penn State 7, Notre Dame 8, 9, Indiana 10, Georgia 11, Miami 12, BYU. So that wraps up the show for today. We will be broadcasting live after the Maryland game on Saturday. If you've liked this show, please hit that like and subscribe button. And please make some comments in the comments section. And for those who showed up, thanks so much for your comments. Always good to see you. And have a great evening. We will see you on Saturday. Take care.